It's time for the Daily Stand Up Podcast presented by Agile Dad with your host, Lee Henson. Without any further ado, let's get started. It's time again for our Friday Agile, Not So Agile episode of the Daily Stand Up Podcast. So glad you could be here. Today, I want to share another story with you, another parable. These tend to be my favorite things to do. Now, this one, I don't believe I have shared with you, but it's been over 525 episodes, so I apologize if it's a repeat. But even if it's a repeat, it's been some time. So I'm going to go ahead and share the story anyway. So here we go. Once upon a time, a father had a daughter, and she complained that her life was miserable and she didn't know how she was going to make things work. She was tired of fighting and struggling all the time. It seemed just as one problem was solved, another one soon followed. Her father, who was a chef, got an idea, and he took her into the kitchen, where he filled 3 pots with water. He placed each on a high fire. Once the 3 pots began to boil rapidly, he placed potatoes in the first pot, eggs in the second pot, and ground coffee beans in the third pot. He let them sit and boil without saying a word to his daughter. The daughter moaned and impatiently waited, wondering, "What are you trying to do? What are you trying to prove?" After 20 minutes, he turned off all 3 burners. He took the potatoes out of the pot, rinsed them, and placed them into a bowl. He pulled the boiled eggs out of a pot and placed them into a second bowl. He then ladled out coffee and placed it in a cup. Turning to her, he asked, "Daughter, what do you see?" She said, "Well, potatoes, eggs, and coffee." "Look closer," he said. "Touch the potatoes." She did and noted that the potatoes were soft. He then asked her to take an egg and break it. After pulling off the outer shell, she discovered that there was a hard boiled egg. Finally, he asked her to sip the coffee. Its rich aroma brought a smile to her face. "Father, what does all this mean?" she said. He then smiled and explained to her that the potatoes, the eggs, and the coffee beans had each faced the exact same adversity, which was the boiling water. However, each one reacted differently. The potato went in strong and hard and unrelenting, but when the water started to boil, it became really soft and weak. The egg was fragile with a thin outer shell protecting its liquid interior until it was put on the boiling water. Then the inside of the egg became hard and resilient. However, the ground coffee beans were unique. After they were exposed to the boiling water, they changed the water and created something completely new. "Which one are you?" he asked his daughter. "When adversity knocks at your door, how do you respond? Are you a potato, an egg, or coffee?" Ladies and gents, it's a simple story, but man, it rings true right about now. I think every single one of us is facing some type of hardship, some type of challenge, some type of thing in our life. And the question is, how do we react? And there's a time and a place for each one of these reactions. That's what makes things so interesting. There's a time where applying the soft approach and being like a potato is the right approach. There are other times where firming up and making sure that you put on that outer shell so that this doesn't happen again is absolutely the right approach. But I think the master approach, the masterful approach, is if it's possible for you to transform that water into something very beautiful and special, would you do it? And for me, I don't drink coffee, but maybe you said you threw some Kool-Aid in there or something, I'd be all over it. But I think you see where I'm going with this. We each have an opportunity to take adversity in our lives and to decide how we're going to react. And it's hard for some people to understand this concept because I hear people all the time who say, "This person's actions made me feel this way," or "What this person said made me feel this way." And I'm quick to smile and just shake my head a little bit and say, "No, that person's actions absolutely happened exactly as you described, but it didn't make you feel that way. You chose to feel that way. You chose to have that reaction. You chose to suspend your thought or to come in with bias. You chose to react the way that you did." And what's interesting is when people finally understand that they're in control of those choices and that they're not always forced to be a potato or an egg, that they can be something more, that they can change the water and they can take that adversity and change it into something that's very sweet in their lives. something that's going to change who they are, something that's going to change how they feel and how they think, something that's going to allow them to change their walk or their path. What I can tell you is those are the people who are successful in life. So if you're looking for a way to overcome adversity, my best advice for you is to find a way to take advantage of the water that's causing the adversity and figure out a way to capitalize on that water to make something really rich and special out of it. Whether it's firming up your inside, softening your outer shell, or just changing the water into something completely different, it's our responsibility to figure out which one applies and to apply it in our daily lives. So there you have it. I hope you have an amazing weekend. I hope everything goes well for you. And as always, I encourage you to stay healthy, stay well, and stay agile, my friends. Until next week, do take care.